He had millions of views, his sponsors, and a fan base that pretty much worshipped him. But when the camera turned off, this is my impression, that he was totally alone. At least this is kind of self-reported as well, where, you can imagine he's just sitting there staring at metrics that no longer really meant anything. So this YouTuber got rich, but in the process of doing so, lost everything that mattered. Before we start, I'm giving away my $197 Wealth Builders Toolkit free for a limited period. It's the exact system I use to manage my money and plan investments. So grab it while it's still free, link in the description, and let's dive straight in. Now, YouTube, like a lot of things in life, rewards obsession. The algorithm loves consistency, more than creativity, if I'll be honest. And what that means is that it's encouraging you to grind more, to post more, to perform more. And at first it can work, right? You start to make some money, get some recognition, maybe even fame for the bigger YouTubers, but slowly, this is something I've noticed that like in a lot of areas in life, that slowly over time as you succeed, your life really stops being yours in a sense. Every decision runs through one question, especially with YouTube, which is, will this get views, right? In academia, will this paper get published? In business, will this sell? Now, there's a creator that I once followed and certainly was talented. I felt that he was humble, he seemed genuine, and so his videos blew up, right? He went from, I think, around 1,000 subscribers to quite literally millions in just around about a year. But as his numbers rose, it seemed on the outside, right, that everything was going well. But on the inside, he self-reported at least that his joy, his happiness fell or declined. So he stopped seeing friends because they weren't content. Imagine describing your friends like that. They weren't content. He couldn't travel without turning it into a vlog. We kind of already know some of these people, right, in our daily lives. He burned through relationships quite literally because real life itself, like when you're trying to have a relationship, it's not going to fit perfectly with the posting schedule. I know as a high performance individual in different areas of my life, let's say in academia, etc., it's kind of similar to that, conferences, publications, etc., grants, applications. For sports people, it's the same for people who are high performance sport athletes or musicians, other kind of creators. But if you're doing anything in life where you're trying to reach for the stars, it's going to come into conflict with relations unless you're very, very good at balancing your commitments. So at that point, after relationships, traveling, etc., this point is where burnout really hit this guy. His views started to drop, his income slowed down, and suddenly the person he was online, confident, energetic, funny, it felt like a stranger to him because it's going to come into conflict, right, with the actual real person. This is actually true in dating too. So when you are doing something like, if you're trying to learn as a guy at least, I don't know for women, but if as a guy, if you do something like the game, you're learning something like that, initially it can come into conflict. And especially, and this is actually for both, like you can start noticing that the real person and the persona, like the rubber hits the road. You'd want to see, all right, when they come into conflict, are they the same person? Like the person you present yourself as and your actual person. This is why it's just way better to be more natural, way better to be organic, way better to be yourself. Now you could say, well, Michael, I feel like myself sucks, And okay, you can do certain things to improve. Maybe that's eating better, sleeping better, going to the gym, learning a little bit about posture, learning a little bit about oral speaking, public speaking. You can take certain lessons. You could go to the Rotary Club, International Club. You could do Toastmasters, for instance, right? And you learn how to speak. You can improve certain things, and these skills compound, and they might help you maybe in your dating life, might just becoming more social, getting out there, mixing, going to events. But as long as you're not too dissimilar, right? Because after a while, like the mask comes off and the real you comes out. So this is kind of what happened to this guy, right? Like he started feeling like a stranger, and that's when I think he realized something that was quite brutal, if I'm being honest. Like he built a brand that was so perfect, he no longer really fit inside it, right? That's difficult to sort of say, right? When you build something that you no longer fit inside. But here's the truth about money and also about fame, the online one anyway. The algorithm doesn't pay you for happiness. It pays you for attention. So it's not going to reward the things that really matter to you. You know, you're trading real moments for metrics. Right? How many views, how many subscribers, what's the watch time, what's the click-through rate? You're really outsourcing your self-worth to analytics. That's all you're looking at. And at first, I'll admit, it's intoxicating. It's a rush. It's a dopamine hit. It's like the hit you get when you're looking at your phone, scrolling through TikTok, scrolling through IG, scroll through YouTube, see some, I don't know, cat videos, some funny animal videos, right? And you, oh, you know, cute, whatever, right? It's that quick dopamine because the validation, and this is true for men and women, like the validation feels like meaning. But just like a druggie, that high fades, and it fades pretty quick, and you're left with nothing. That's when you realize what's missing, right? That the quiet breakfast that you didn't film, the friend that you forgot to call, the piece that never made the cut, right? That was maybe not even the director's cut. The same system that can make you rich can also hollow you out. It's not just in online work. It's also in academia, which I've experienced. It's also in business, which I've experienced. Unless you learn to own it, instead of letting it own you, you can get hollowed out by this system, right? So try to own it, don't let it own you. I know it's difficult. And look, I've seen this story play out with YouTubers, with business owners, even professors. I have seen the dark side of professors where it just ruins their lives, right? And quite literally they end up with nothing. They have a few publications, citations, you know, they're chasing the numbers like that, you know, conferences, editorial positions, all that. That's great. But at the back of it all, they come home, there's nothing else to their lives. They've no family, they've no possessions, material or otherwise. They've no friendships much. They've nothing to do except for what looks on a page on a CV. So that's in the professoral side, right? They chase success until it starts chasing them, right? It says, right, there's a trade-off. If you want to achieve this, there's a paid price to action. You got to pay a price for that action, right? To achieve a certain thing, you have to pay a price, right? It's like the devil is worth his due. Pay the devil his due, right? There's a truth in that saying about selling your soul to the devil, right? In the sense of, I'm not getting into that here, but just in the sense of like, well, you give up certain things. You give up time, money, energy, relationships, health even, right? Mental health, physical health. So, by the way, moving away from the negativity, the positivity here, the solution is pretty good. It's not quitting, right? It's not giving up. It's actually much more positive. It's realigning. It's actually working on work-life balance. It's working on, you know, thinking in the big systems, like realign yourself. Use your ambition. If that describes you, if you're ambitious in life, probably you're watching this, you've got a certain amount of ambition. Maybe ambition, you don't want to use that word to describe you, but even watching this video puts you above a lot of people for, you know, rather than just watching something that's purely entertainment, that's purely living in the now, that's purely consumer. This is supposed to help you. So use your ambition, because you have it, to design a life that you don't need to escape from. That's what I'm doing. I'm designing a life I don't need to take 15 holidays a year. I know plenty of people that go on holidays every month, and I kind of question like, well, that's great if that's what you want to do, but what are you escaping from? Like people who cannot wait for the Friday nights, thank God it's Friday, TGIF. I don't really understand that. I haven't had that TGIF in decades, not since I was in school, because every day for me is the same. I love what I do, and I never really needed to clock in from 9 to 5. So again, I designed a life, like I knew that I was exhausted when I tried to work. I worked in a stockbroking company for one summer when I was 19, and I was exhausted going in the morning, coming home in the evening, and having a 1 hour break. And I would use that break. I would fall asleep in a restroom of a luxury hotel that was nearby. I'd go in there, order a soup. The cheapest thing I could order was a soup. Have the soup, go into their fancy toilet, and just sit there and try to fall asleep for the next few minutes, set the alarm so I wouldn't be late going back to work. Or I would find the local park, put on sunglasses, lie back in the grass and stare at the sun, right? And just close my eyes and try to not stare at the sun, you'd burn your eyes out, right? But I would lie there and I would stare and just close my eyes and rest. And that's what I was doing. I knew the 9 to 5 was too much. So I designed a life becoming a professor where I could work my own time, where I had a lot more freedom. So that's what I do now with the real estate, with my portfolio there, that I don't have to work on it. A lot of it is, okay, it's one and done. I love putting in, I'm a hard worker, I'll put in the work now, I want to play later. That's an expression that my grand uncle Neddy on my father's side, my father's mother's side, I guess, had. So he had this expression like, work hard now, play later, right? And my father too, in a sense of like, the man who makes his hobby, his work his hobby, will play for the rest of his life. Enjoy what you do. So use that ambition. Design a life you don't need to escape from. Create for impact. Maybe you love helping, like I love in teaching as a professor, not for approval, right? You have to move away from validation, because then you're just seeking ups and downs, and there's a lot more downs, and the downs are much worse than the ups. When you're trying to impact, even when it's a down, it's not bad, right? Because at least you're trying. So build systems that allow you to rest. Because, guys, no number, doesn't matter how many views, how many followers, what your income is, the number of citations in academia, nothing will replace the most important, which is relationships. Relationships you have with your family, relationships that you have with your friends, right? And the peace and tranquility and calm that you feel. But you're going to lose that when you're chasing some of these dreams. So be very, very careful of that. By the way, if this part is clicking for you, you'll love the Wealth Builders Toolkit. It's the exact $197 system I use to plan and track all of this. I'm giving it away for free for a limited period. So grab it while it's still free, links in the description. The goal isn't just to win the algorithm, it's to win your life back. Like everything I do in this channel, like I'm not against certain influencers. Like if you want to do your Gary V, you can do your Gary V, you can have your hustle, your grinding, more power to them, and your Dan Penny, you're going to work hard, fantastic. We need a lot of horsepower, HP, right? We need a lot of hard work. Musk talks about this, like he wants people who've got hard work ethic, great. I'm not against hard work, but I would like to set up systems where, again, I'm not day trading in stocks, working every single day. I prefer swing trading, where I maybe just check in once a day, or check in and work on it every few weeks. Or in real estate, I've set the thing up, the project, I'm working hard, but once it's rented, it's very minimal amount of work. That's the system I'm built. That's what this channel is about. If that describes you, if you don't mind a little bit of hard work up front, but you don't want to be working forever, you'd like to be able to take time for doing what you want to do. If you're trying to do that, then maybe we're gonna bond in terms of our electronic bond, right? Digital bond. I don't know you personally, but I'm reaching out through the lens here. If that resonates with you, right? If you're trying to build wealth like that and purpose, whether it's online or offline, and you want to be able to relax, then consider subscribing to this channel. I would really appreciate it. It does help the algorithm, because I'm documenting here how to create financial freedom. So you're living this journey as much as I am, without losing yourself and without losing myself in the process. And if you're already on that path, stick with it, work at it, but grab my free guide below. It's totally free, completely free. And I'm going to share everything here for free. It's the same system that I used to rebuild balance that I felt was lacking after I chased performance for years, for decades, quite literally, over peace. So I hope it helps. I'm sure it will. And if it does, remember, you don't have to implement everything at once. You don't have to, if it's in terms of property, you don't have to buy all the properties at once. You can buy one property at a time. So let's build your wealth one property at a time, and I'll see you in the next one.